Why would you know the industrial world around us? There's a little career share here. Mid 80s, I was working for a chain and cable company. They made chain and cable. And one of the things they made were conveyor systems. And inside that global chain and cable company, still around, very old, was an automatic guided vehicles division. And they had hired me in specialty to do guided vehicle system controls work and guided vehicles implementation, integration, systems integration work. So basically, the design layout was 2 or 3 DEC mini computers or other options if the clients were interested, but that was our program base, so it would have changed a lot of rules. In a high availability cluster configuration or medium availability would be a better analogy for it at the time. And these were very large industrial electric vehicles that wandered around shop floors on their own, following wires or lasers or a few other options that could be developed inside the system. At the time, they were putting AGV systems into 4 General Motors plants. Each system had somewhere over 100 vehicles riding around. These are electric vehicles. Before Tesla was cool, right? Early 80s, mid 80s. So this was my job. Now, I understand the carriers. I have a background before this, and now I'm working in 4 General Motors plants across the country and become a primary for 2 of them on the East Coast. And then General Motors makes me an offer to come work with General Motors on these new systems integration work across global manufacturing systems. But the focus here was North America. So at a time when General Motors was laying off thousands of engineers, the old pen and pencil and slide ruler engineers that made all the drawings were being replaced by AutoCAD stations and streamlining work and workflows. Thousands of engineers were being laid off. GM had to get special permission to hire over a dozen engineers to do this integration work, and I was one of a dozen engineers hired while General Motors was laying off thousands. So these systems went in as part of larger automation systems. Whole vehicle manufacturing plants were being retooled in the 80s in tough financial times to build out the next generation of cars. So if you remember the Corsica and the Beretta, the S10 pickup trucks, what else have I been involved with? The Corvettes, any pickup truck you can name manufactured in North America. So I've been to Mexico for that job. I've been to Canada for that job. Traveling to GM plants for days, weeks, or months at a time, doing controls and systems integration work. Usually my role was to train plant staff, train electricians, train other engineers on these systems, how they worked and what they did, introduce them to Fortran and assembler language, and distributed system controls, control system architecture, network architecture for controls management, software version control management. These were all major decisions that I was one of those principals in helping GM make choices in major software initiatives. We drove requirements back to suppliers, including Microsoft, including Oracle, and any software vendor you can name. We drove their requirements process, their next software initiatives. If you ever worked with Microsoft Office Professional or with any of those product studios, When you step up in those enterprise systems into SAP and Oracle and SAS and other larger data systems, management systems, ways of measuring and progressing these things. So this is what a non-degreed engineer goes out and does for a living in the real world. You get to touch multiple types of facilities, the oil industry, the chemical industry, the nuclear industry, and then finally the automotive manufacturing industry was my major career. And then after that, I settled a couple of years with our healthcare systems in Medicare and Medicaid state systems, managing employees across well over a dozen states and teams of hundreds of people working on discrete system software development. So, not with Fortran. Times have changed. So there's a little bit of how you get to hear from there, from unstructured understanding, and a whole lot of certificates. Oh well, enjoy, folks. The world's real. It's hard to ignore if you understand just a few of the pieces.